In moments of indecision, we're often feeling confused, frustrated, and maybe even overwhelmed. How can we get things moving when everything feels so stuck? Why can't we see what direction to move toward? It might surprise you to know that, metaphysically speaking, we get fuel for our engines by the choices we're making. Our fuel lies within the choices we make. The wrong choice can leave us stalled, and the right choice gives us the power to move forward. Seems simple, right? So, what is the right choice? Well, today we're going to talk about one simple principle that will help us know exactly the right decision to make every time and in every situation. This podcast is all about helping you with your spiritual growth so you can overcome obstacles and manifest your destiny to crystallize and materialize any dream, basically, to have success on life's journey. It's all about getting unstuck by unlocking your hidden power. Now, let's get started. Hi there, and welcome. My name is Remy, like Do Re Mi. I'm a best-selling author and creator of the Get Unstuck Revolution. I help extraordinary women just like you dissolve the obstacles in your path so you can bring success to you. Now let's get started with today's video. Okay, let me jump off the screen here so I can see my laptop. And today we're talking about the fuel we need to move forward from the struggle of indecision, and that fuel is choice. Our struggle is sometimes a one off situation that we've never had to face before, but more often than not, we're in some kind of pattern. Somehow, some way, we're in a very similar situation, something we faced maybe hundreds of times before, and here we are again in what feels like the same struggle. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a spiritual dilemma like going through an ascension. Whatever it is, does this sound familiar that this isn't the first time to be in this particular struggle? The funny thing is, when we string together a bunch of new choices, it creates a new pattern. And then we never again have to face this particular struggle or anything like it. We evolve. And I don't know about you, but this is good news to my ears. Every challenge in life and at work is asking us to reach and expand into more of who we really are, and this helps us to take the next steps toward our next success. If you'd like to see success in full abundance along life's journey, and if you're wanting to tap into a greater knowingness and align with the higher consciousness of your infinite self instead of the lower ego thinking that pushes success away, then this is for you. It's time to be unabashedly, unapologetically, happily untethered to ego thinking. It's time to align with the higher energies of our soul's path instead. This episode is for you if you wonder, how can we know which decision is the right decision every single time and in every situation? Why do the same struggles keep finding me? And how can I find the momentum to keep things moving forward? Yes, these episodes are about how to find your hidden power when you want to transform challenges into successes. I like to call it the audacity of alchemy, because when we're feeling stuck, it's never the situation that has us stuck. It's our energy about that situation that's become stuck in anxiety, overwhelm, doubts, worries, frustrations, indecision, and even anger. And often this is because of a spiritual injury that we've experienced, some kind of a hidden trauma. So it isn't the pain of the situation, it's the pain of not being connected in the natural energy of who we really are, of being connected to that magical part of us that's a creative vibrational being who can use positive energies to create what we want and bring it into physical manifestation. We can allow our manifestations to materialize and not get stuck in the negative vibrations that block them. These positive energies that we talk about so much are where we find the magic of alchemy, because our choice of frequency, our choice of those positive thoughts and emotions can change the course of our journey. And today we're talking about the fuel that propels us forward with our choices so that we don't have to be in a struggle or difficulty of a decision that's gnawing at us. How can we get things moving again? And how can we know the right direction to move toward? Metaphysically speaking, we get fuel for our engines by the choices we're making. Our fuel lies within the choices we make. In other words, our choices are what propel us forward. The question is, what choices will serve us the best? The wrong choice can leave our engine stalled, and the right choice gives us the power to move forward. Well, there's one simple principle that will help us know exactly the right decision to make every time and in every situation. We'll get to that here in just a minute. But before we can make a choice, we want to understand identity. And here's why. Every life experience is there so that we can discover more and more of who we really are, what's important to us, and what we stand for. We discover who we are by every choice we make, good or bad. Sometimes we discover who we are by observing others. When I was younger, much younger, my best friend lived across the street from me, and her older brother wasn't old enough to drink, but he was old enough to figure out how to get beer from the local 7-Eleven. And on Friday night, he'd start guzzling the beer, smash the can against his head, and then crawl up on a car and belt out a country and western song at the top of his lungs. Now, I'm all for having a good time, but to me, this was flat out embarrassing. And I vowed that I'd never embarrass myself that way. The experience helped me discover one little piece of who I was and who I didn't want to be. So it's through these experiences that we uncover these layers. It's through our mistakes or seeing others' mistakes that we learn and grow. And if we don't, well, the universe has a way to bring us opportunities for self correction, doesn't it? Or maybe we fall into a deep depression, which some people believe is anger turned inward because of a situation we're in that we know isn't right. And this is why when someone comes to me with a struggle, I listen to their story of how they got there, and I only have one question. What have you learned? What did you learn? And who are you now? All these life experiences are there so we can grow and discover who we are at our core. So I'd like you to take a minute and think back to some of your life experiences, those defining moments that changed you, either an opportunity or maybe a mistake, or something that you observed someone else doing while they stood on the hood of a car. And as you look back over a few of these experiences, as you reflect back, how have you been changed? Who were you then and who are you now? As we evolve, we often come to understand that we are an expression of the positive energies without the insidious emotions of ego. We have a natural positive energy inside of us: resilience, patience, kindness, appreciation. These positive energies are who we are at our core quite naturally. We're made up of unconditional love, meaning love without conditions, without resentments, without expectations, and without negative emotions. That's who we are at our core. And so our job is to express these positive energies and not get hung up in the negative ego thinking that blocks that expression. Now, if you haven't listened to it already, you might want to go back a couple of weeks to an episode called Compassionate Choices. And this is where we talked about two different densities or two different worlds: the density of choice and the density of love. By density of choice, I'm simply talking about the physical world that we live in, those experiences that we face every day, that even though they're part of an illusion, they seem very real to us because we're physically experiencing these situations. But it's actually part of the illusion that we live in. These experiences bring us to a choice of whether to respond and react with compassion in every interaction, or whether to respond and react with a negative or fearful reaction. That's the density of choice. We're choosing. Every minute of every day, we're choosing how we'll manage our energy and our emotions. Now, by contrast, the density of love, and when I talk about the density of love, I'm referring to the non-physical world, the unseen reality. This unseen world is ready to take shape, and it takes its form by the choices we make. The unformed world is formed by the choices we make. And this is how things come to fruition. It's how we manifest, by the choices we make, whether in thought form or whether we're taking physical action. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I wanted to move out of my apartment and I wanted to use professional movers. And as I was sitting there thinking and pondering about how to find a good professional moving company, the idea began to take shape in the unseen world. And in a matter of minutes, literally about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, my phone rang and it was a telemarketer who worked for, wait for it, a professional moving company. And I told her how flabbergasted I was that I was literally just that minute thinking about finding a professional mover. And then the phone rang just out of the blue. So, this is an example of the density of love. It's the unseen world that's ready to take shape, and it takes shape through our thoughts, since our thoughts are energy. And the reason it's called the density of love is because there are only two emotions, love and fear. All positive emotions fall into that love category, and all negative emotions somehow fit into the fear category. So, in the density of love, in this unseen world, there are no fears, there's no resistance, there's no negativity, just the unformed, ready to take form depending on our thoughts and our choices. Make sense? All right. So we have the density of choice, which is our physical world, that includes experiences which sometimes bring us confusion, indecision, vacillation, and other negative emotions. And these choices are how we learn and grow and get to know who we are, one choice at a time. And then we also have the density of love, that unseen world made up of pure positive light and would include all the positive emotions that we know as patience and compassion and appreciation and courage and resilience and so many others. The density of choice is asking us to choose to raise our vibration and raise our frequency up into these higher, more positive emotions, and then make our decisions and choices from there, from that higher perspective. And this is the one simple principle that will help us know exactly the right decision to make every time and in every situation. The density of choice brings us a choice to stay in the struggle, and the density of love and these higher positive emotions that are who we are at our core are where we'll find our North Star so that we know how to navigate life. This is why we're raising our frequency and raising our vibration to a higher, more positive energy. We think it's about solving our struggle, but the only thing required of us ever is to raise our vibration. And this is where we can become one with all that is. We become one with the universe. We become one with life. We become one with prosperity and abundance and all things good and professional movers and so on. Up there is where we receive guidance and inspiration and these little miracles, and we can see the right direction. It just literally appears right in front of us. As we take on this higher spiritual perspective, this is where miracles occur, and this is where better than expected outcomes occur, and all these coincidences and wonderful things. And when I use the word miracle, by the way, I'm saying that a miracle is simply a shift in perspective. When we see things differently, we can make different choices, and then different things appear in front of us. And one of those choices is to not allow ourselves to get stuck in the muck. It's a choice. So these experiences occur in our lives as a catalyst to help us grow into this higher perspective rather than being stuck in the struggle of making a decision of what to do. Our struggle is an opportunity that we've literally called in so that we could learn to make some new choices. And when we string together a bunch of new choices, we begin to repattern our lives. Okay. So, how do we know how to make the right decisions every day and in every situation? Well, we aren't born naturally ethical. Until we understand right from wrong, we make choices that seem useful in the moment, but which may have no consistency and may not follow any North Star or lead us toward any specific goal. We're kind of living by default. We're living by what's useful or convenient in the moment. When we begin to make the right choices consistently, we line up more and more of our personality along one consistent line of seeking. We are seeking the truth of who we really are. We uncover more and more layers of what we stand for and what we believe in and how we want life to be. And this all comes under the golden rule that we find in pretty much every walk of life and every culture and every society. We inherently want to be a good and compassionate being. And when we screw up, when we make a mistake, we hopefully have the self introspection to say, well, that didn't work out quite like I'd hoped, and then find the way to correct ourselves or correct the situation. As we do this, we begin to radiate a metaphysical energy or power which expresses this positive, life affirming energy. By our very being, we begin to act as a magnet to which others around us become magnetized. And then they are also presented with opportunities to make ethical choices as well. And our energy is influencing them to follow their own North Star of ethical and compassionate choices. We become an influencer. We become an inspiration. Of course, we can also see in our world how this can go in the complete opposite direction. Some people just can't seem to find their own North Star. And so maybe they need some more life experience to get there. They want to be good and compassionate, but they haven't quite figured out this thing about making compassionate choices yet. So, when we're faced with the struggle of making a decision, that decision is actually asking, who do you want to be in this world? And the answer to that question makes our choices easier. Who do you want to be in this world? Do we want to be the young boy who steals lunch money and then blames someone else just for fun? Do we want to be the mean girl who causes another teenager in school to take her life because she simply couldn't stand up to a bully? Do we want to be a grumpy butt who's selfish and disapproving and always griping and who nobody wants to be around? Whether we're 9 years old or 19 or 90 years old, we're faced with choices within every struggle, a struggle that we ourselves called in because we wanted an opportunity to grow. The question is, who are we becoming? And will we rise to the challenge? All right. So we touched on this little engine metaphor a few minutes ago. Let's circle back. As we come face to face with a struggle and we feel a little bit stuck, we have the ability to fuel our engines. Our fuel is the concept of right versus wrong, compassion or no compassion. And so we're fueled by these choices that appear in front of us. We fuel our own engine by the choices we make. If we're not asking ourselves that question, who do I want to be or who am I becoming? Our choices won't produce any torque. We won't propel forward. Our engine won't have the power to roll forward if we don't keep one eye on who we want to be or on who we're becoming. Our choices won't be about how we can grow and evolve. Make sense? Making choices may not always seem this way, but they're about growing into more of who we're meant to be. If we don't have one eye on who we want to be, it leaves our engine cylinders sitting dead and still. No progress can be made. Under these conditions, we don't grow. And so life brings us more and more similar experiences, more and more struggles for these choices until we finally begin to string together enough choices to help us repattern our lives so that we can become who we're becoming. If we make a negative choice or if we make no choice at all, we're preventing the wheels from moving forward. It creates a drag or a heavy burden where progress becomes slow and tedious and sometimes nearly impossible. It hurts our progress when we make a negative choice or we don't make any choice at all. We have to remember that we've called in these life experiences to help us grow to a new level of success and that we're meant for more. Because who wants to be stalled? That's no fun. If our struggle is with another person, it's a simple concept. Treat the people around us the way we would like to be treated. Have compassion and consideration for others, just as we have compassion and consideration for ourselves, or just as we want it for ourselves from others. And so this is a solid tool in making our choices when it involves another person. And the reason this choice of compassion kicks our engine over and propels us forward is that we're seeing the other person as equal, or we're seeing that we're all one. If I hurt you, I end up hurting myself. We're giving them the same entitlement to respect, honor, and decent treatment that we want for ourselves. We're invoking a unitary nature, a oneness in the way we handle life. And this is why emotional abuse and ghosting and invalidation doesn't work. We end up hurting ourselves because I'm me and you're you and we're all one and we're all in this together. Now, you may be asking, But what if my struggle doesn't involve another person? What if my struggle is a health challenge? What if it's a financial challenge? What if it's a challenge that has absolutely nothing to do with another person that I can be compassionate toward? Well, all our life experiences are here so that we can realize and discover who we are at our core. We are an expression of positive energies without the insidious emotions of ego. And this includes compassion, but also includes all the positive energies like resilience and gratitude and courage and grace. That's who we are at our core. We're made up of unconditional love, meaning love without conditions, without resentments, without expectations, without negative emotions. That's what we're made up of. And so our job is to express these positive energies and not get hung up in the negative ego thinking that blocks that expression. So the situation itself doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if the struggle is in a relationship, if it's with finances, or if it's a health challenge or any other struggle. Our situation or our struggle is just a catalyst that's asking us to recenter in this positive expression. We're still centering in compassion no matter what the situation is. We're still centering in universal love. We're still centering in this perspective that all is one and we're all connected and that every choice matters. We're still centering in a positive outlook because that's where we can create better than expected outcomes. When we raise our frequency and our vibration to this higher level, when we connect with this idea of oneness, that's where we can begin to receive inspiration and guidance for the right actions to take. When we make the decision to center this way, in this perspective of creating a positive outcome, we're moving forward because we're no longer in the struggle of indecision. It's a choice that serves us well. Choosing to fuel up this way is what propels us out of the struggle because it's never about the struggle anyway. It's about using the struggle to discover newer and deeper layers of who we really are at our core, someone who can create a positive outcome and not get stuck in the negative emotions that block it. If we choose to stay stuck in the struggle and how bad it all is, we close down inspiration and guidance. We're saying, no, I'm not open to a positive outcome. I'm still swimming in indecision. Not a good place to be when we just want to move forward, right? Our goal is to change the energy of our situation. If we can look at it from a new perspective, a perspective of creating a positive outcome, we get to change the frequency from a lower negative emotion to a higher, more positive emotion. And simply changing the energy changes the form. We change our thoughts about something, and it can very easily take on a new form. As we empower ourselves toward this idea of self expression and who we are at our core without the negative emotions of ego, we're choosing a higher frequency, higher and better thoughts, because our choice of frequency, our choice of more positive emotions, it changes the course of our journey. So, reflecting back on everything we covered today, how can you apply what you've learned? We're repatterning the old patterns of imbalance. Some tangles take time to unravel, and we may have had stubborn tangles in various energy centers for a long time. But focusing on the tangle itself won't release it. In fact, it might mat up into an even tighter tangle. It takes the viewpoint of recognizing that our situation is an illusion. It's a catalyst, asking us to increase our focus toward the best possible and most joyful outcome. Our struggle is asking us to focus on the best possible and most joyful outcome. Well, I hope this helps you as you're using the powers of alchemy to transform challenges and obstacles into positive new successes. This podcast is all about helping you have success on your spiritual growth journey. It's all about getting unstuck by unlocking your hidden power. If you still can't get your head around what's got you stuck, you can tell me about it. You can send me a question to questions@unlockyourhiddenpower.com, or you may not know that you can schedule a one-on-one session with your own personal unstuckologist, that's me, by visiting instantbreakthroughsession.com. This private session is designed to help you tap into your greatest resource, that's you, and together we can make quite a team toward calling in the transformational powers of alchemy. And our time together will uncover your single biggest stuck point, the one you can't see. And we'll also go over the most genius way to create clarity so you can just move forward while one obstacle after another is obliterated. And we'll create a strategy to get you moving in a really good direction, the one that's aligned with your life purpose. If this sounds like a match made in heaven, you can hop on over to instantbreakthroughsession.com right now and book the time slot that works best for you. Well, thanks for joining me today, and I'm wishing you a life filled with all the alchemy you need to bring success to you. Feel free to share this video with anyone you know who's feeling stuck, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.